Misjudged potential. The Varaxian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in less than a decade. Their method was always the same: arrive, assess, intimidate, and if necessary, annihilate. Their ships, massive hexagonal structures of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, would enter orbit around potential conquest worlds with little warning or fanfare. Commander Zex Toril stood on the command deck of the Imperial Vanguard, his four arms crossed in what his species considered a posture of supreme confidence. The view screen showed a blue-green planet rotating slowly before him, the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star at the edge of the spiral arm. What the inhabitants called Earth. Biological assessment complete, Commander, reported Science Officer Krev. Her thin fingers danced across the control interface, bringing up detailed scans of the planet below. The dominant species appears to be carbon-based bipeds. Concerning capabilities: limited regeneration, no natural armor, poor sensory range, minimal strength-to-mass ratio. Zex Toril's mouth tentacles twitched in what passed for a smile among the Varaxian elite. Technological assessment: primitive fission and early fusion energy systems. Rudimentary space travel limited mostly to their planetary orbit. Digital information systems with limited quantum computing. Projectile and explosive-based weaponry. The commander made a dismissive gesture with his lower right arm. Hardly worth a full invasion force. Send the standard first contact package and prepare the ultimatum template. Across Earth, every communications device, from military command centers to civilian smartphones, simultaneously displayed the same message, translated into all major languages. People of Earth, we are the Varaxian Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our dominion. Your biological and technological capabilities have been assessed and found inadequate for resistance. You will surrender all planetary governance to Varaxian authority within 72 of your hours. Compliance will result in the preservation of your species and limited autonomy. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. This message will not be repeated. In the United Nations Security Council emergency meeting, representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as the ultimatum replayed on the chamber's main screen. They've positioned 5 vessels in geosynchronous orbit, reported General Helena Chen, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Based on energy readings, each ship possesses firepower that could rival our entire nuclear arsenal. Secretary General Okafor stood, his usually steady hands trembling slightly. They've given us 72 hours. What are our options? Surrender is not an option, stated the Russian representative flatly. Neither is annihilation, countered his French counterpart. Dr. Said Rahman, director of the Global Defense Initiative, stepped forward. We may have something. Project Blind Spot. The room fell silent. Project Blind Spot had been a controversial international research program, originally developed to create an invisibility system for military applications. It had been shelved due to energy requirements that made it impractical for field deployment. Blind Spot was never designed as a weapon, objected the Chinese representative. No, Rahman agreed, but it might give us something those aliens clearly don't expect. A surprise. Within hours, a unified global response plan came together with unprecedented cooperation. Old rivalries were set aside as scientists, military strategists, and political leaders collaborated across borders. Manufacturing facilities worldwide were reproposed. Satellite networks were reconfigured. Aboard the Imperial Vanguard, Zex Toril was growing impatient. 52 hours have passed. No formal response to our ultimatum. Commander, interrupted Communications Officer Drez, we're detecting unusual activity across the planet's surface. Mass population movements, energy spikes at industrial centers, reconfiguration of their orbital satellites. Preparations for primitive resistance, Zex Toril said dismissively. Continue monitoring but maintain alert status minimal. These humans pose no threat to our ships. On Earth, the final preparations were underway. The modified blind spot technology had been loaded onto thousands of satellites and launched into precisely calculated positions throughout near-Earth orbit. The energy requirements problem had been solved not by creating a more efficient system, but by distributing the load across the entire global power grid in a synchronized pulse. All units in position. Dr. Rahman confirmed. Global power synchronization at 98.9% efficiency. Secretary General Okafor took a deep breath. Humanity stands together. Activate blind spot. At precisely the same moment, power plants across the planet, nuclear, hydroelectric, solar, wind, and even emergency generators, directed their full output into the satellite network. The modified blind spot technology activated, creating not an invisibility field, but something far more ambitious. Aboard the Imperial Vanguard, alarms suddenly blared. "Commander, massive energy surge detected across the planet," shouted the science officer. It's creating some kind of quantum field distortion." Zextoral leaped to his feet. Weapons online. "Prepare planetary sterilization sequence." "Weapons not responding," Commander reported the tactical officer, panic evident in his voice. "The quantum distortion is affecting our targeting systems. I can't get a lock on any planetary targets." "Impossible." Zextoral slammed all four fists onto the command console. "Their technology is primitive. They cannot interfere with our systems." But the evidence was undeniable. The humans had created a planetary-scale quantum interference field that rendered Voraxian targeting systems useless. Their ships, designed to deliver precision strikes from orbit, were effectively neutralized. Multiple launches detected from the planet's surface. Called out the sensor officer. "Evasive action," ordered Zextoral, but it was too late. The humans had launched thousands of conventional missiles, nothing that would normally threaten a Voraxian warship, but with a critical modification. Each missile had been fitted with a miniaturized version of the blind spot technology, making them invisible to Voraxian sensors until the moment of impact. The first waves struck the smallest Voraxian vessel. While the ship's hull easily withstood the initial explosions, the continuous barrage eventually found a weakness: the ship's external sensor array. With its ability to navigate compromised, the vessel began to drift. "Retreat. All ships withdraw to safe distance," Zextoral commanded, his confidence shattered. How had they so catastrophically misjudged these humans? As the Voraxian fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared from Earth orbit, humanity celebrated its first victory, not through superior firepower, but through ingenuity, cooperation, and the element of surprise. In the aftermath, Dr. Rahman addressed the United Nations. "We've bought ourselves time, but not victory. The Voraxians will return, and they'll be prepared for our quantum interference technology next time." Secretary General Okafor nodded solemnly. "Then we must use this time wisely. Today, humanity stood united against an external threat. We must maintain that unity and prepare for what comes next." Little did they know that beyond Earth's solar system, news of their unexpected resistance was already spreading through the galaxy. And not everyone was displeased to hear of the Voraxian Empire's humiliation. Unexpected allies. Fleet Admiral Zextoral, promoted despite his failure at Earth in recognition of his decision to retreat rather than lose ships, stood before the Voraxian High Command, his posture now rigid with forced dignity rather than confidence. "The humans employed a quantum-level technology that our intelligence failed to detect," he explained. "It created a field that rendered our targeting systems inoperable and masked their counterattack until the moment of impact." Supreme Commander Vorax, the 12-armed leader of all Voraxian military forces, leaned forward on his elevated platform. "You were defeated by primitives using technology we believed was beyond their capabilities. Explain this discrepancy." "There are two possibilities," Supreme Commander replied Zextoral. "Either our assessment of human technological development was flawed, or they received outside assistance." "Outside assistance." Vorax's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You suggest the Coalition interfered. It is a possibility we cannot discount. The quantum technology the humans deploy bears similarities to theoretical systems the Centauri scientists within the Coalition have been developing. Vorex's mouth tentacles writhed in anger. If the Coalition has chosen Earth as a proxy battleground, this changes our tactical approach significantly. He turned to his advisors. Prepare a full invasion fleet. We will make an example of Earth that the Coalition cannot ignore. Meanwhile, on Earth, recovery and preparation efforts were underway when an unexpected visitor arrived. A single ship, smaller than the Voraxian vessels but of clearly alien design, appeared at the edge of the solar system and transmitted a message. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Thela of the Galactic Coalition. Your resistance against the Voraxian Empire has come to our attention. We wish to establish diplomatic contact. Unlike the Voraxian ultimatum, this message was sent only to major governmental authorities, and the ship maintained a respectful distance, waiting for a response. After hurried consultations, Earth agreed to send a small delegation to meet with the ambassador on a neutral location, the Earth's moon. The team consisted of Secretary General Okafor, Dr. Raman, General Chen, and representatives from the major powers. Ambassador Thela turned out to be a slender, blue-skinned humanoid with large, silver eyes that reflected light like mirrors. I congratulate you on your impressive defense against the Voraxian fleet, she said after formal introductions. Few species have managed such a feat, especially at your stage of development. We appreciate the recognition, Okafor replied cautiously, but we're more interested in understanding our position in this larger galactic situation that we seem to have stumbled into. Thela's expression shifted to what the humans would later learn was solemnity. The Voraxian Empire and the Galactic Coalition have maintained an uneasy peace for centuries. They expand through conquest. We grow through alliance and mutual cooperation. Your solar system lies in what has been neutral space until now. And our successful defense, prompted Dr. Raman, has made you a target of special interest to the Voraxians, as well as a potential ally to us. Thela activated a holographic display showing a vast map of the galaxy with political boundaries highlighted. The Voraxians will return, and soon. Their military doctrine requires a swift and overwhelming response to any resistance. General Chen studied the map carefully. How many ships in a full Voraxian invasion fleet? Typically between 50 and 70 capital ships, with numerous support vessels, Thela replied. Your quantum interference technology was effective, but they will have countermeasures when they return. And what does the Coalition offer? Asked Okafor directly. Technology, knowledge, and partnership, said Thela. We do not fight the Voraxians directly. That would trigger a full-scale war that would devastate hundreds of worlds. Instead, we help species defend themselves and join our collective security arrangement. You're fighting a proxy war, observed the Russian representative. Thela's silver eyes blinked slowly. We prefer to think of it as cultivating resistance to tyranny where it naturally emerges. After the initial meeting, Earth's leadership debated the proposal. Some argued for accepting coalition help immediately. Others worried about trading one potential overlord for another. The difference, Dr. Raman pointed out, is that the coalition is asking for our participation, while the Voraxians demanded our submission. Ultimately, Earth agreed to limited technological exchange with the coalition, focusing on defensive systems that would complement the now revealed blind spot technology. True to Ambassador Thela's warning, the Voraxian return came swiftly. Sensors detected a massive fleet approaching the solar system. 63 capital ships, including the imposing Imperial Dreadnought, a vessel nearly the size of Earth's moon. They've adapted their sensors to compensate for our quantum interference, reported Dr. Raman during the crisis meeting. But the coalition technology has given us new options. The plan that emerged was audacious. Instead of trying to defend Earth directly against overwhelming force, humanity would take the fight to the Voraxians in deep space before they reach Earth orbit. Using coalition faster-than-light drive technology, Earth launched its first true interstellar vessels, 20 converted cargo ships equipped with enhanced versions of the blind spot technology, and a new weapon, quantum disruptors that could temporarily disable Voraxian energy shields. Remember, General Chen addressed the ship captains before launch, this isn't about destroying their fleet. It's about demonstrating that the cost of conquering Earth will be too high. The human fleet intercepted the Voraxians at the edge of the solar system. What they lacked in firepower, they made up for in tactical flexibility. The converted cargo ships, nimble compared to the massive Voraxian vessels, darted between enemy formations, disrupting their carefully coordinated attack patterns. Aboard the Imperial dreadnought, Supreme Commander Vorax watched in growing fury as the human ships executed maneuvers that should have been beyond their capabilities. Coalition tactics, he raged. These humans have been given coalition technology. Supreme Commander reported his tactical officer. The human vessels are targeting our communication arrays and sensor systems, not our weapons. They're blinding us. Indeed, the human strategy wasn't to destroy the Voraxian ships, but to isolate them from each other, preventing coordinated action. One by one, Voraxian vessels found themselves cut off from the fleet command structure, unable to receive orders or transmit tactical data. In the chaos, a small human vessel managed to approach the Imperial dreadnought itself. Instead of attacking, it transmitted a message directly to Vorax. Supreme Commander, this is Secretary General Okafor of Earth. Your invasion has been compromised. You face a choice. Continue this attack at great cost, or recognize that Earth is now under coalition protection and withdraw. Vorax's rage was palpable. You dare dictate terms to the Voraxian Empire. Not dictating. Supreme Commander, offering a path that doesn't end with needless destruction on both sides. For several tense moments, the outcome hung in the balance. Then, gradually, the Voraxian fleet began to regroup and withdraw. In the aftermath, Ambassador Thela formally invited Earth to join the Galactic Coalition. Your species has proven itself not just capable of self-defense, but innovative in ways that will benefit all coalition members. The terms were favorable. Earth would maintain full autonomy while gaining access to advanced technology and interstellar trade networks. In return, humanity would contribute its unique perspectives and innovations to coalition research and defense initiatives. The Voraxians misjudged us, Dr. Raman reflected during the signing ceremony. They saw our biological limitations and technological gaps, but missed something fundamental about humanity. And what's that? Asked Ambassador Thela. We've always been at our best when underestimated. Raman smiled. Throughout our history, our greatest achievements have come when we were told something was impossible. As Earth took its place among the spacefaring civilizations of the galaxy, the Voraxian Empire was forced to reassess its expansion strategies. The humans had exposed a critical flaw in their conquest methodology, a blind spot in their understanding of potential resistance. And across the galaxy, other species under Voraxian threat began to take note. If Earth could stand against the Empire, perhaps they could too. What had begun as a simple conquest had inadvertently shifted the balance of power throughout known space, all because the Voraxians had failed to recognize that a species' greatest strength might be invisible to sensors, but decisive in battle, the power of human ingenuity when faced with impossible odds.